For a long time now, Ron Magill, for free, I might add, has been a weekly guest on this show. It is very popular. If you wish to help Ron Magill with some of the things he cares about or believes in, his endowment, it is substantive, and you can find it online without getting in any trouble at work for searching for his endowment. And if you want to help the animals, he is doing some things that genuinely care for the animals, and you can get rid of the bureaucracy and all the layers that you have to go to sometimes when you're giving, and know that you can help the animals if you're doing it through Ron Magill. So we urge you to check that out. I saw that one of the things you're doing at Miami Zoo, Ron, that you told us about, that eagle cam has now borne fruit. That is a fairly rare thing, right? To be able to see on camera, eagles taking care of an egg, right?
It's fantastic, Dan. And I actually watched, they don't only have one egg, they now have 2 eggs. She laid another egg on Saturday night. And it is just fantastic to see it happen live. I mean, I watched her. She was like going in labor. You can see her on the cam. She stands up and she ruffles her feathers and she starts shaking. And you see her kind of push once and push 2. And then all of a sudden, and then she turns around and stands up. And there's the second egg. And she did the same thing with the first egg. And I got to tell you something. I got goosebumps. It just moved me to tears to watch this happen live, to have this intimate window into the world of bald eagles 85 feet up in the air on a camera at night. It's infrared camera, so you see it like it's daytime. So it's fantastic. And now they're there just incubating the eggs. They named the eagles. I had nothing to do with naming them, but they named the eagles Ron and Rita after me and my wife.
Wow. You had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, nothing at all.
I had no input on that.
Sure,
that was a surprise to me.
Look at me and Louie.
What a coincidence.
Happenstance, right?
What are the odds?
Are you guys done?
Yeah, perhaps.
Okay, let me go with the rest of the story. So anyway, they named her Rita Ron, which was a huge honor for me, but also made me very nervous because, so many things can go wrong. I mean, gosh, one of the parents could die from, ingesting a rat with rodenticide with poison in it. It's happened to eagles before. An eagle can abandon the nest. The eggs can get predated on. Ants can get in there. There's so many things that could go wrong. The bottom line is only 50% of bald eagle pairs successfully fledged young. So there's a lot of challenges ahead. So when you get a name associated with it, if something bad happens, all of a sudden you've got this horrible stain on your name because, it's because they named him Ron that bird was a sucky father or whatever, So it's a huge honor, but at the same time, a huge risk.
Deadbeat.
That's why Disney refused to allow us to name a hippo Dan LeBatard and then tried to buy you off with a $10,000 donation, and then we had to leave.
That is true. But for the record, Dan LeBatard is thriving, is doing just wonderfully. As a matter of fact, Dan LeBatard may be getting a little Val of his own pretty soon.
What is happening over there? What are you saying? What do you mean? What do you mean that
Hell yeah.
the Zoo Dan LeBatard is going to get a playmate?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Zoo Dan LeBatard may be going on a excursion pretty soon to meet a set-up date, so to speak. It's kind of like planned dating, computer dating. And the computer says that there's a female, I believe she is in Pennsylvania. I got to double check, but that she is awaiting to feel some of that Dan love.
All right.
You want more than dating, though, right?
Yeah. It's an arranged marriage.
It's exactly what it is, an arranged marriage. That's the best way to put it.
How does that get chosen?
Both happy with that.
How does that get chosen? Why do people have to be, or why do hippos have to be imported in, and why can't it just be more natural than that?
Well, because we look at the genetic background of the hippos, what their genealogy is, and what the best way is to create the most diverse gene pool so that their offspring are the healthiest they can possibly be. We don't want it to be like, royalty where cousins are marrying cousins just because you got to keep it in the family. You got to keep it out of the family. And we are very careful in accredited zoos to make sure we know which animals are related to other animals. And, generally speaking, we will ship the male to the female. Because we like the female to always be more comfortable in her surroundings and her environment there. So we'll ship the male to the female once the recommended breeding is made.
It's very progressive. The male is getting flued out, huh?
Yeah, the male's the one that gets flown out. Listen, in a perfect world, we wouldn't even fly the male out. This is going to sound a little depressing for most guys because right now we use a lot of artificial insemination too. We would just collect his sperm and fly that up there in a tube, which is a lot cheaper and a lot less risky for the animal itself. Because, when you ship an animal, you move an animal, there's a risk there. So we are using artificial insemination. We had a rhino born here not too long ago as a result of artificial insemination. Now that, I understand, takes the fun out of it for a lot of the animals, but in reality, it's a very effective way to keep a good diluted gene pool without risking the animals, getting sick or hurt during transport. And the other thing is, a misconception is, oh, you're going to put them together and they're going to like each other. I don't know if Dan's going to like Val or vice versa. They could get next to each other and they may hate each other. So we might not get reproduction there. But it's a chance we got to take.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Ron. Like, how do you even know that Dan the rhino is interested, or Dan the hippo is interested in a female hippo, for example?
Generally speaking, Dan is always interested. It's the female that generally is more picky.
Hell yeah.
In the animal world, guys, and listen, if you guys are really happy in your own relationships, you know this, it's in the human world too. The females select. The females select the male they want to be with. The male usually is like, give me a donut. I don't care. Okay. They're kind of single-minded after something.
Yeah, a donut to have sex with. That's what he's saying. Yes, that's exactly right.
I'm just trying to throw an analogy out there that generally males tend to be much more focused on the physical part of sex. Females tend to be much more selective in the mate because they are the ones that usually end up raising the offspring, and they want to make sure they have healthy offspring.
I could totally see Dan LeBatard and the hippo being more interested in just the donut.
Hey, Ron, you've been referring to the female hippo as Val, but what is the actual name of the female hippo?
I don't know. I'm going to have to check on that. I just know her as a number in the stud book right now.
Wow. Is she wearing red lipstick, like trying to present herself?
Dan LeBatard, the hippo, has a number in a stud book. Look at that.
Yes.
Look at you. I mean,
Congrats.
He's a player.
Is it a little black book?
I mean, you got a question for Ron Magill?
Ron, I was watching a nature show the other day, and they were talking about river dolphins. Is that a thing that's been around for a long time and been known that there are some freshwater dolphins?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I was with those freshwater dolphins in the Amazon. They're pink. They're pink dolphins, and they actually have vestigial eyes. Their eyes are hardly functional in a sense because they're murky. The water's so murky there because of the tannins in the Amazon River that they depend much more on the echolocation than they do on the eyesight. But they're a really unique animal. If I'm sure Stugotz has already Googled it. They have a very long, very thin snout and a very big bulbous head, and they have this wonderful pink coloration to them. They're the pink river dolphins of the Amazon. They're fantastic.
Ron, I read that there's a 1 or 2 year old penguin named Pingu who wandered from its home in Antarctica and wound up on a rocky New Zealand beach almost 2,000 miles away. How often does that kind of thing happen in the wild?
Not terribly often, but I've heard it happening. We all here in Florida, in South Florida, we get a lot of birds that were way off their migration route. They get blown off by a storm, they get off direction, and this is where they land. And the same thing happens with penguins. If they get blown off in a storm, a current takes them the wrong way, they'll pick up the current and they'll land where they land. Again, it's not common. But it's not unheard of by any stretch of the imagination. We've heard of animals, not just birds, but other animals too, that get caught on currents, caught on debris in the ocean and float to another place and establish populations there.
What is Tony roaring with laughter about?
Dad, what was the name of that penguin?
Pingu. P-I-N-G-U.
Yeah, I knew it when he said it. I said, "Oh, that's pretty close."
You don't know what you're saying. That might not should have. Yeah, that shouldn't have.
That's bad for my Hispanic listeners.
You don't know what you're saying, Greg.
I mean, it's P-I-N-G-U. I'm looking at it right here.
Let's all sing it. P-I-N-G-U.
P-I-N-G-U. P-I-N-G-U. And Pingu was his name.
Tony was
killing me.
Tony was roaring with laughter as soon as Greg Cody said that, with no knowledge whatsoever of what it is he was saying. Chris, you didn't know either, right? You were informed by the Latin speakers.
I mean, I know that, I kind of knew that it sounded something like that.
You okay?
He's just laughing.
Oh, no. This is not a good one. Get it out.
Edit that out.
You sound maternal there, Stugotz. That's very nice of you.
I care about Greg.
Ron, which animal sleeps the least?
Which animal sleeps the least? Are you talking about, mammals, big vertebrate animals? I would think, I don't know. I think like giraffe and elephants, they sleep in little tiny spurts. So they don't sleep extensive periods of time, but I don't know cumulatively how much they're actually sleeping.
How about sharks? Can you explain? I know you've explained parts of this to us, the turning off of part of the brain, but it's hard to imagine fish sleeping.
No, fish do sleep, and some sharks have more of a challenge because some sharks need to have water constantly flowing through their gills to be able to get enough oxygen. But sharks adapt by finding places where they get current that will actually run that water through their gills without them actually having to swim, so they can rest that way. Listen, nature's incredible the way it adapts. People say, oh, well, a shark must never sleep because it needs to always have water moving, so it's got to be swimming. No, a shark will find sometimes where there's certain current that the current itself will do the work, so the shark can be immobile for periods of time, getting the rest that it needs.
Ron, I was watching CBS Sunday Morning, Jane Pauley. It's my favorite show. And she was talking.
One of my favorites too, buddy.
I love it.
They did a feature on aging and how the tortoise can live till it's 150 years old simply because it moves slowly. It takes things slowly, not a ton of stress. I'm wondering, is there something to that, A? And B, what is the oldest animal in the animal kingdom?
Well, the oldest animal that we know of in the animal kingdom, I believe, is the Greenland shark. And it's believed to get to be 300 years old. Wow. Look it up, Stugotz. I'm sure you always double fact check me on this stuff, but the Greenland shark, I believe, is the oldest. Other than that, it is a tortoise. I believe it was over 150 years old. Tortoises, generally speaking, are the oldest land vertebrates on Earth. They can live over 150 years. And there is something to be said about, just taking things slowly. It's like, people who eat slowly, it's a tortoise versus the hare type of mentality. Constant, but methodical, yet slow, relaxed is what's going to give you a longevity that you're looking for. You
have a couple of very old turtles at the zoo, do you not?
We do. We have Goliath, who's one of my favorites. He's approximately 100 years old, 525 pounds. You personally met him out here, Dan, and he's one of the few animals that I have worked with here the entire 40 plus years that I've been here. So is Goliath.
You said that turtle is one of your favorites. Who's your least favorite at the zoo?
My least favorite at the zoo. This is going to sound terrible. It's not that I don't like them. I'm not a big fan of camels because camels have just some bad habits.
They spit a lot, right?
Yeah, they're assholes.
Oh, they also urinate all over themselves, and they take their tail and they flash it all over the place when they're urinating. They'll take their tail between their legs and they'll splash you with the urine, and it's just an awful smell. It's horrible. So, and they do this sound, where they have a soft palate in their mouth when they get agitated or excited. They make a sound that kind of goes, and this thing comes out of the side of their mouth. It looks like they're puking out their guts, and it stinks wretched. It's just not a very attractive animal. And having said that, they have been incredible beasts of burden for humankind for centuries, if not millennium. So they're a wonderful animal, an incredible animal, just not one of my favorite animals. Not something I'd want to live with in a garage for a while.
Splash.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Are camels assholes? Yes or no?
Oh, God, I'd say that, Dan.
Well, you did.
No,
you sort of did.
I'm not saying
Insinuated it.
Greg Cody
Bless
said
America.
it. Greg Cody said it. You didn't say it, Ron.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Ron
you, Dan.
implied it.
And Ron, I will tell you, I looked up the Greenland shark. I mean, that thing looks amazing for 300 years old. It's a young 300 years old. It is.
The National Ocean Service says they can. The National Ocean Service says they can live to be over 500 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know how they document that. See, because we have never tagged a Greenland shark to say, okay, we've tagged it now, and then 500 years later, it's still alive. How do you really document that? I'm going to go with the 300 years, which is still mind blowing. And hopefully, all the listeners have learned something, and probably most listeners have never heard of the Greenland shark, but this is an incredible animal that can live for centuries.
But Ron, if you're willing to believe and buy in on 300 years old, I mean, what's the next step to 500 years old besides 200 years and 2 centuries?
Okay. Stugotz.
He did realize that as soon as he did the math on it.
Well, I mean, if you're willing, if you're going to sit here and tell me it's 300 years old, what's the big leap to 500 years old? I mean, come on.
That's right.
Why is one
I'll
more
tell you what,
ridiculous?
Stugotz.
Yeah.
How tall are you? How tall are you?
5'8" on a good day.
Okay, I'm 6'6".
Right.
If we stand next to each other, is it going to be a big difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, big, huge difference, right?
Yep.
So Nobody's going to say, well, what's the big leap? I'll pick this guy to play on my basketball team. He's 5'8". What's the big leap to 6'6"? What's the big difference? What's the difference? What's the big leap there?
So in
It's a
1700,
huge leap, Stugotz. It's huge.
But you're saying no one knows, so you're buying in on 300, yet you're not willing to buy in on it living till 500 years or 1,000 years.
no one
it makes
tagged
sense.
these fish in 1721, Ron.
I say I'm more willing to buy into the 300 than I am into the 500.
Okay.
The National Ocean Service
By the
uses
500.
carbon dating to figure out the ages of these sharks.
Wow.
And they have given a range of from between 272 and 512 years.
So there you go. See, guys, what you learn from me here is that I tend to always go onto the conservative edge. I think 300 or 272 is wow enough to not have to go to 500. People who like to exaggerate things, there's no need to do it. 272 is mind-blowing enough.
Yeah, but the wow factor is everything. 512 just sounds better.
You're talking to the wrong person, Ron, when you say to Stugotz, hey, you don't need to exaggerate things. Yes, he does. Yeah, he's got a need for it the same way. Put it on the poll, Guillermo. What does Stugotz need more? Oxygen or exaggerating things? Billy, what do you have for Ron Magill?
That was it.
Okay, very good. See you later, Ron. Good talking to you. Thank you,
Have
sir.
a good one, guys. We'll see you later. Take care.
Ron.